Okay, so I hope the sound is going to be okay with this. I'm doing this from my phone with the AC on because we have a heat wave going. um, and of course, being in the city, lots of noise outside and upstairs. You're gonna hear some banging up there for sure. So hopefully, overall, you can hear what I'm saying. I have I've done frequency. I'm really into frequency healing. I consider myself a healer, although I don't know how much healing I've actually done, but just in my heart of hearts, I feel that that is my role, and maybe one that I'll get, I'll fall more into, and really find myself in that. But no matter what, at the end of the day, I've always just wanted the best for people. And this is even in the midst of, God knows I've had situations, but in the midst of any kind of situation or aggression or whatever, my natural instinct is to help and to heal. And I think that's really when we all get back to our quote unquote roots, or back to who we really are as a spirit, a soul. That's what we want to do. We want to help and heal because we're all connected, we're all one, and helping others is the equivalent of helping ourselves, of healing ourselves. So the reason that I'm making this video, and I had said it's going to be short, and something in me is saying it's probably not going to be short, but the reason why I just really felt compelled with certain life situations that were happening or are happening now, just weird random meetups or connections or just things that happen that push you towards something. You're kind of getting those signs, those universal signs. So I was getting enough signs that I need to speak up. Whether or not anyone hears me, I need to speak up. If you build it, they will come. It's okay if only 1 or 2 or 3 people hear this video or hear what I have to say. I feel in my heart of hearts, and when I say that, I mean my higher spirit, my true self, is saying that I need to speak up during this time. We've been through a lot. We're still going through a lot. And my gut instinct is saying that in the next few months, things are going to get even weirder and even more challenging. And I'm not saying that with any fear. It's just kind of like a knowing, and let's get it together. Let's, toughen up because we got some things we got to get through. But I guess my concern and the reason why I'm just feel pushed to make this video and to share is I'm concerned for those who are, all of us in totality, yes, but I'm concerned for those of us who are awake or awakening spiritually. And by that I mean you're going, you keep hearing about 3D to 5D, somehow we just skip over 4D. I don't quite understand that, but this transition of consciousness or understanding that everybody is feeling. Like usually I kind of keep these kind of things to myself because I'm like, okay, maybe it's just me, but this is something that is clearly real because there's just so many peoples in so many different parts and times and spaces of life who are feeling these feelings and know that something is up, something is happening. They can't put their finger on it because we're and I'll get into all this later, but we're in this space of confusion under the law of confusion, in this plane where we agree to that, I guess on a soul level. So we don't, most of us who are not delving into weird stuff or just have that connection, natural connection to the other side, are not fully aware. We might convince ourselves we are aware of why this is happening and what's happening, but there's always that level of confusion, that level of you don't know what tomorrow will bring. You just don't. You really don't. There's multiple possibilities. So if people say or act as if they know, run screaming the opposite way because they're going to lead you astray. And that's kind of where I'm I'm coming from is the fact that I'm seeing a lot, especially on YouTube, seeing a lot of these false lights or false prophets and people who are clearly witches and wizards, donning on the clothing or the facade of a light worker and leading hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands astray. And I think today is a very symbolic day for me to put this out, because I've been saying it. I've literally been telling like strangers and family that I feel like I need to say something. And then today, and I'm going to, I don't want to, again, we know, but we don't know, so I don't want to put this person out. So I'm not using any names, because you never know, like maybe somehow his way is the right way. But there is a person who I felt was a really good spiritual, I don't want to say leader, because I don't really even get into that, but just, somebody who was, I'll say in the words of a lot of his followers that were writing, leaving messages, that they were an ascended being, or at the very least spiritually evolved, is what a lot of people said. So that, and even made it to like, major network TV, having their own show, all this kind of stuff, and kind of leading the way during this time of confusion or transition and all that kind of stuff. And started doing something weird. Like, I know not to follow people or to put anybody up on a pedestal. My father taught me very well with that. So I wasn't really following. It was just one of those, somebody I subscribed to. So I'm just checking every now and then to see what's going on. And then I start seeing that he's putting together some kind of weird, like, and not to say weird, because there's nothing wrong with this in regards to like maybe, meditating group power and, spiritual growth and coming together for the energy and the power of evolution and etc. and ascension, but coming together with all that energy and all that purpose for something that just wasn't being it wasn't clear. It wasn't clear for a lot of people. But he's good looking, so a lot of girls are just like, oh, this is now, you're just wanting to follow. And then I finally, like, something was said, and I felt like, okay, this is not. I literally I left a comment saying, I don't think, I'm not sure, but I don't feel like this project is of divine light. That's kind of how I say it. So it's not of God or not of divine light. And then the next day, they posted something, I guess, to kind of explain to people, because they had followers who kind of disbanded and left during a very scary situation where he was literally channeling a dark entity. And these people ended up having, they left because they were just terrified. They didn't want to be a part of that. And then started to have like bad things happen. And I'll just leave it right there. And oddly enough, trying to channel something that an old prophet, I think her name Baba Gaga, said that in 2021 a dragon would, I think she said, overwhelm humanity. So that's been in the very back of my mind. Like, not all predictions are correct, but so some are. So I pay attention, or at least put it in my little storage cabinet in my head. And to know that he was trying to conjure or do something in regards to a dragon, I was like, wait a minute. What's happening here? It's like, it's a little scary when these things start to like, line up. And I've been seeing that a lot of, I guess you can say, initiations or quote unquote synchronicities and things like that. So it's just finally getting to the point where it's like, do I keep this all to myself or do I share? And I don't want to share everything, because I know without a fact, seeing other people who are woke and who I think are just amazing people, YouTubers, etc., it's a very thin line between knowing everything and complete and utter insanity. It really is. Like, you have to know that the most important things in life, in this life and the life beyond, are very, very simple, like extremely simple. Like, I just don't, I love God enough and I trust God enough to know that he wouldn't make it might make it challenging, but not like extremely intensively difficult to understand, So I just feel like at this time, the best thing in my mind, because remember, this is all just me. This is my thoughts. These are my feelings and experiences based on, anything that had any kind of, any effect or influence on me or my life. Some will be right and some will be wrong, and I put quotes on both right and wrong, because we're human. We're in a space that's unknown. We really, we don't know a lot. We don't know a lot. And you got to first, like, that really has to be the basis of anything you say. As soon as you start, you just say, I don't know everything. I don't. I plan on in every video saying I do not know everything. You should not follow anybody. Like with social media, we've literally made it so that you are following people. We are followers of others. Yes, we want to connect. Yes, we want to love and share and all that good stuff. And it's not healthy the way that we've kind of been forced or, coerced into living in order to survive a pandemic. So isolation is not good. I understand that, even though I'm very okay with living like that. But in general, for most humans, that's not a healthy way to live. Sorry, I'm putting this plug back in. But isolation is not a healthy way to live. But at the same time, some of the social norms that we've been creating are equally unhealthy, and I think we all know that to some level and degree, right? So you never put all of your faith and trust into any other human being. You just can't. You truly cannot. Not in this game of life that we're playing. You can't, because 95% of what they say might be truth to you, and then that 5% could be so off the mark it could lead you right off a cliff. And that's what I'm seeing potentially about to happen right now for a lot of people who are putting way too much faith in what they consider a spiritual leader. No. The whole beauty of the spiritual world and the spiritual community is that, unlike the very maybe rigid and dogmatic religious world, it is a world where the power is within you. That is said so many times, like we've said that in so many different ways, that the power is within you. It really is. And before I go any further, and I really don't want to, I'm going to make sure this is not too long of a video, but I guess the best thing for me to do, and I had meant to do it at the beginning, is to explain just some, and I'm clearly not going to remember everything, but just explain some of my truthisms, the things that I believe, so that you understand where I'm coming from. So if there's something that I believe that is just so, like, you can't even wrap your head around it, or you think it's just so completely wrong, then maybe anything that I say past this point is not going to be for you. So it's kind of like a disclaimer. So but also foundation, because you have to start anything with a foundation, correct? So for me, I truly believe that we are souls having a human or earthly experience. Our soul is extremely important, 100% the true us. In addition to the bodies that we use, or the avatars, right? The avatars that we use, we have the soul that has this experience. I believe in reincarnation, 1,000,000%. And oddly enough, I started to believe in reincarnation from a quote I saw in the Quran of all places, that said each soul, and I'm not paraphrasing because I can possibly, but each soul has an allotted time. It didn't say each body or each person, it said each soul. So that's when I started to think, whoa, so and it made life and death and circumstances and pain and all this other stuff just make a lot more sense for me. So it was just something that I just started to gravitate towards. I also believe, as I've learned a lot of things recently, so there's some things that I 1,000,000% believe in, there's things that I've learned or heard or, did research, and it just, I filtered and it just felt right, So I do believe in the higher that we have a higher spirit. It's that major piece of God, because we're all pieces of God. That's another central belief of mine, that we're all just sparks of God, having these experiences and these challenges and stuff to learn and understand ourselves. But we are not God, and that's the thing. There's a lot of paradoxes and things that it's hard for our human mind to wrap around, but to me it just makes so much sense. So it's like, yes, we are quote unquote God, like, yes, we are part of God, but we are not the one true God. It's like your fingernail trying to take over, go to work for you tomorrow and take over everything. Like, come on, you're part of me, but you're not me, so we have to keep that. We have to both feel empowered, but at the same time be obedient. And that's what I mean with all the paradoxes. There's so many paradoxes, so many things like that brings me to my next belief in balance. And this is saying a lot, because I felt like I have been an extreme person most of my life, like always teetering from one end of the spectrum to the other. And the goal ultimately, and I think that's why we have yin yang and all these ancient truths and symbols that have stood the test of time. Balance is key. Balance, flowing, balance. Being in that somewhere in that middle ground is the key, because any extreme becomes the other extreme. So I think balance is very important, especially in a time right now where it's just chaos, absolute chaos outside, and in the world around us. You have to be balanced. You have to simplify and trust in God, like 1,000,000%. Surround yourself in the light and the love of God, and that's the one place you can trust and blindly just drop all of your worries. But again, these could be separate videos, because I don't want to overwhelm anyone with information, and that's another thing that we need to do now, is not overwhelm ourselves with information. Some things, most, especially if you watch the news, most are going to be fake. Fake news for sure. It's all about fear, because fear is the opposite of love, and God is love, right? So fear is part of the dark side, and it also just starts to eat at you. It starts to just disintegrate the power that you have, the God power you have within you. And it makes you more susceptible to these darker powers that are trying in a last-ditch effort to win, and they will always lose. Always lose. Always. It's like a 3-year-old baby trying to beat up his mother or his father. It will always lose. You can't destroy what created you. And that's the battleground that's out there right now. That's what's happening. Is and you don't want to be a part of the losing team. But it's not complicated. You'll see all these all this information, some of which might be true, and some of it which might be delusion, and some of it which might be purposely misleading, purposely trying to just capture your soul and your energy, because that's what the dark side needs. It feeds off of human energy. We're like power cells or batteries for them, and you don't want to provide that energy. You want to keep your mind and your space, in your love and your energy on the right side of things, and the light and God and the power of God, because ultimately God created all of this. The darkness is just an illusion, and it will lose. We have to know that it's there, in the same way we have to know what our shadow self is, and who that is, and how to overcome it. I feel like the darkness is God's shadow self that will ultimately be purged and overcome. You don't want to be part of the purge. You want to be on the right side of things. And now is the time where all of that is coming to a head. Right now. And the thing, so that you don't fear, because again, it's all about increasing your light, increasing your love, increasing your joy, increasing your peace, your inner peace. So you want to detox. I was, telling someone recently that something is forcing me to become a vegetarian. I've never in my life thought about not eating meat, like never. But in the last, I'm not sure exactly how long it's been, but I feel like it's been it might be a month. So like 3 to 4 weeks, I have had, no, it might even be longer than that, 2 months. I have had no desire to eat meat, and I have officially become a vegetarian, eating only power foods, and cleansing my system, detoxing every day. And when I'm pushed like that from outer forces into something good, right? Because we got to be careful, because we are susceptible to good or bad. Keep that in mind. Very important. But when I'm feeling that, I go with the flow. I don't push against it. I go with the flow. As soon as I know it's of the light and it's good, I go with the flow. So I'm allowing it to detox my body, and I am promoting that for other people. So detoxing, eating right, drinking water, clearing out your mind, like just removing all the refuse, and like, it's not, you don't have to ask anybody. You don't have to ask anybody what that means. Sit in a quiet place, especially once you detox and you got all these toxins out of you, and just sit in a quiet place in nature and ask God. Go within, and all the answers are literally there. You'll start seeing those synchronicities, and it literally is just ask and you shall receive. There's so much truth in so many of the things, like both religious texts, creative works, movies, like all the things that we've created. We've been inspired by good and bad. There's truth in so much of it. Just look around you. But you have to ask first. You have to make your intention very clear, and whatever you ask for, you will receive. If you want the truth, if you want to know right from wrong, God will show you almost immediately. You'll start seeing signs. You'll start, like, things you can't deny. It's just like swimming and raining on you, So know that you do not need, there's no more prophets. There's no more prophets. I highly doubt there will be any more. It's done. You have to go within. You have to become, like, just bathe yourself in divine light and love, and God will never lead you astray. But you have to ask for it. You have to make your intention clear that you want to be of the light. You want to be on the winning team. You want to take care of your brothers and your sisters and the other parts of you. You want to share love. You have to make that clear. And do not fear. There is nothing within God. There is nothing to fear. Nothing. And the way I can say that so easily, the first thing that comes to your mind is, well, there's cancer and there's war and somebody can hit my car and I might get beat up today. Ultimately, you are an infinite and eternal spark of energy, of light, of just amazing, immaculate beautifulness. But it goes on and on and on. This body, this situation, your house, your city, your race, your sex, all of that is just part of this game called life. It has no, it's temporary, fleeting, comes and it goes. But the part of you that is, truly is, I am is, it is eternal. And it cannot be hurt. I'll leave it at that for now. God bless.